Who's sending us emails? Okay, perfect. So, she did one of these, and so I was okay. Good afternoon. It's November 1st of 2022, and this is the regular council meeting of the town of Rocky Mountain House, and it's 1 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order. 2.1, acknowledgement of Indigenous peoples. The town of Rocky Mountain House wishes to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is Treaty 6 territory and a traditional meeting ground and home for many Indigenous peoples, including the Blackfoot, Cree, Saulteaux, Stoney, and Métis. 3.1, adoption of the agenda. We have a number of additions to add. 8.4, Sylvan Lake Mayor's Prayer Breakfast will be an addition. 8.5 for new business would be Ochis Road Letter of Support. And 9.3 would be Proclamation of Mountain Rose. Is there any other additions or changes to the agenda? Seeing none, is there any discussion over those added items? Seeing none, I'd like to have a motion to adopt the agenda, please. Councillor Phillips.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
Thank you very much. All in favor of that motion? And that's carried. So the 4.1, we have delegations. So today we have a delegation from Varm Energy Incorporated from Sean Collins. And I'm just waiting to see him come up on our screen.
Hey there, how's it going? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can now.
Perfect. And maybe just confirming, my understanding is we have 20 minutes of time.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, perfect. And I do believe Rory from our team is joining in. He was having a bit of trouble connecting, but if you do see him in the lobby, maybe let him in. And I will screen share. I'm good to go. Do you need any introduction or am I good to take over from here?
You're welcome to begin. Thank you so much.
Yep, appreciate the invitation, and it was great to meet Debbie in early September down in Innisfail. Really appreciate the opportunity to present. I don't know if she would have shared. I'm proudly born in Rocky Mountain House. My dad was in the RCMP in the 1980s. And so me and my brother were both born in Rocky. So it was nice to reconnect. My parents are very proud and happy to hear that we're connecting on the business front with the hometown. So appreciate the audience today. Was going to run through a really condensed version of the same information that was shared with Debbie in Innisfail, just about Varma, our work around waste to energy, some of our European and Norwegian roots, and sort of what we're looking for in terms of a potential partnership with Rocky and other towns. Would say open if anybody is interested in jumping in or asking questions throughout, feel free to go ahead. But I'll jump in fairly quickly. So we're Varma Energy. We're a subsidiary of a Norwegian business called Green Transition Holdings. They own a number of businesses in the waste to energy technology and carbon capture and storage industries. So have a portfolio of businesses that allow them to be builders, owners, and operators of waste to energy facilities with integrated carbon capture and storage. This little graphic is the sort of most simple overview on what we're doing with Varma. We're trying to divert municipal solid waste instead of it winding up in a landfill. You process it in a two-stage combustion facility. So you burn the value of the energy value of the waste that's there, deliver that out either as steam or as electricity. And then with integrated carbon capture and storage, you sequester the carbon underground. So landfill elimination, carbon capture, and new energy production is the sort of feature wins of projects like this. I'll skip through fairly quickly and we'll make this presentation available afterwards as well. Our ambition is to be builders, owners, and operators long term. We want to hold these assets for the long term. Our company's headquartered in Edmonton and have an active development portfolio of 3 facilities, 2 in Edmonton area and the project in Innisfail that we're interested in having this dialogue with. Have had some success so far in getting shortlisted for a relatively large federal subsidy that we'll hear about this year. And generally are looking to be leaders in the waste energy space in Canada. Rip through a bit maybe of my background. So my whole career has been in energy transition and renewable energy project development work. Early in university, I started a global energy education charity called Student Energy. For about 5 years, ran a geothermal development company called Terrapin Geothermics and led them through securing first geothermal resource rights in the province. And then took a bit of a detour into politics recently. So I was Amarjeet Sohi's official agent and fundraising chair in his recent run for Edmonton mayor. And there's Rory. Hey, Rory.
Hi. Sorry, I'm late, everyone. I'm the young guy on the team. I'm not supposed to be the one getting confused with technology, but that is life.
Yeah. Do you want to go just maybe 10 seconds on your background? That's sort of perfect time for your intro.
Sure, you bet. Rory Wheat, I'm the development manager for Varma. Recently completed a master's at the University of Saskatchewan in energy security and kind of rolled right from there into beginning of Varma development. And it's been a whirlwind ever since. Great to meet everyone.
Would go a bit to the opportunity we see in importing European technology into Canada. So in most European countries, you have dozens to hundreds of waste to energy facilities. In Canada, we have 4 total, none in Alberta. So relatively vacant market for these types of facilities here to date, largely due to relatively affordable landfilling and sort of no policy framework. But are seeing, so again, when you have 1,200 plus facilities in Europe and 4 in Canada, really trying to leverage the capital, the technology, and the expertise that already exists in this industry and importing that into the Canadian marketplace. We'll carry on just a bit more background on sort of what it is we're trying to build and what the revenue model is. So we're trying to build waste to energy facilities, generally about 7 acres of land requirement. The economics for a project is made up instead of people paying a tipping fee to a landfill, that tipping fee is instead paid to a waste energy facility. So you sort of make part of your revenue on the front end in the tipping fee, and then you're selling the energy that is produced either as steam or as electricity. And then with the sort of recent run up in carbon pricing, there's now a material revenue stream that comes from the carbon offsets generated from the projects. So it's generally how we make a project work. Biggest environmental benefit, aside from the avoided use of land for landfills, really significant impact on methane. Landfills are the 3rd largest source of methane. And so just by combusting the waste, you go from methane to CO2. And then when you integrate carbon capture and storage, you're about 97 to 98% of the carbon that would otherwise wind up in the atmosphere being eliminated. I'll crank through this just in the interest of time. Want to keep lots of time for Q&A. A little bit of background on the Aitos gasification technology that we possess the rights to in Canada. So this is the Forest facility in Stavanger, Norway, that's built using this technology. You're subjecting your waste to a really high temperature air in a deoxygenated environment. So gasifies it into syngas. And then you can combust that in a second chamber at about 1,000 degrees Celsius. And so your output is steam, and you get about 18% of your material out as ash. Bit of a visual of what a facility would look like. And again, we'll pass this information along for people that are curious to dive deeper. But 2-stage combustion process, so gasification into oxidation chamber. So really, really hot, complete combustion to ensure it significantly exceeds any of the emissions requirements. So this is 3 of the facilities built using this base technology in Norway, all of which significantly exceed the European Union emissions requirements. Last sort of segment of this presentation is really the partnership that we're looking for with Central Alberta communities and municipalities. So we've signed a letter of intent with the town of Innisfail to develop a project targeting a total of 100,000 tons of waste processed per year. We're looking, primary challenge for us at the moment is securing waste agreements with private haulers or towns, counties, municipalities. See significant benefits to the region around economic development, job creation, opportunity for regional leadership and collaboration, and really trying to overcome. It's a challenge to be about a $200 million, $170 to $200 million facility developed. Really need a collaborative effort around trying to solicit and secure enough waste to make a project go. So biggest asks that we would have is ideally would love to have a commitment of waste from Rocky to the project. Are trying to start the narrative of trying to understand what people's current cost structures are and seeing if there's an ability for us to meet that cost. Also looking for support in acquiring grants and other funding, and really trying to understand the local supply chain of people who could be part of the facility construction experience. So that's it. I went through fairly quickly. I would love to take questions from the audience on anything you're interested in.
Thank you very much. Did we have any questions today for Sean? Councillor Phillips.
Hi, Sean. I do have a couple of questions. So you're saying that you need about 100,000 tons from the communities to make this project happen or to support the business model. So you're going to need a few communities or a few municipalities to come on board to be able to produce that much volume, I would assume.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we're trying to stitch together the aggregate volume from a number of the counties and towns in the region. So we put Rocky in that category for sure.
And the second question I have is the tipping fees. Are they going to be comparable to the local landfills? Yeah.
So right now there's no sort of market price for this type of service because these sort of facilities don't exist yet. Would flag that we've been invited in to participate in a few larger grant and subsidy programs where there's a requirement to demonstrate financial need. There is a significant difference in tipping fees in Canada versus in Norway or UK or other places. So do feel like there is a world where we can sort of say, here's current tipping fees to go to a landfill. The need for funding or grant support is demonstrated by maybe you would want a higher gate fee to actually make the economics of these projects compelling enough to make an investment decision. And so I'd say we're trying to start the conversation to say, if we were able to deliver a cost competitive product, would you be interested in participating? So trying to get a sense of what is cost competitiveness for you. And then if there's not grants and funding available, we would likely require there to be some sort of climate premium paid for the outcome. But right now, just trying to open the conversation and say, like, what are you paying right now all in? And if we could match that, would you be interested in partnering with us?
Do you have a third question? Okay. Councillor Boniface, I see that you have some questions.
I do. What kind of land mass is required for the equipment?
Yeah, about minimum acreage is about 7 acres of space. We typically try to get 10-acre land options, so you have a bit of extra space, but they're not huge. This isn't huge footprint facilities.
Okay. Do you accept oil field waste?
We don't. It's not really. We're predominantly municipal solid, like MSW, municipal solid waste, and sort of industrial and construction, like good burn value, but we're not in the sort of soil remediation or oil and gas.
I'm not talking about soil. I'm talking about, like, on a drilling rig, they bring in the big bins and they just fill them with everything.
Yeah, a little bit TBD. If you can burn it, we can take it. is generally the answer. We use the language we're bottom-up solution, so we can take a wide variety, but if it's too high moisture content, like if it's over 50% moisture content, usually you can't burn it. So the answer is usually if you can burn it, we can accept it.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
Councillor Hutchinson.
Thanks for the presentation. It was very interesting. So I don't understand, how does it, if we're contracting out our garbage services, somebody else has it, how does it determine that we make the decision, or, you know, Empringham is using your service or not? Would that not be conversations between your company and them, and then they'll bring it to us?
Yeah, so couple pathways, and that would have been a question for me too, is just understanding a little bit about what your waste contracting agreements are. We're sort of minimum 3 years out from a commissioned facility that can take waste. So we're generally looking for agreements that would enact in a few years. From my understanding, a lot of the towns and counties and cities in the region will be part of landfill commissions, and the terms of their waste is subject to the terms of their commission. The example I would carry, I know we presented to the Mountain View Landfill Commission. There's like Sundre and 6 towns are part of. Each of those towns has the ability to provide notice about, in their case, it's 6 months notice that they're not going to be making their waste available to the landfill anymore. So curious to know if you have a similar right within your current contract structure, or if, as is the case in Edmonton, they have some agreements that are multi-year that would say come offline in 2026 or 2027. So we'd be sort of angling for to be the new contract when that would come due. So I don't know the specifics of your waste agreements at the moment, but generally would try to sort of either have a direct agreement with the town, or in the Mountain View case, we are exploring the possibility of us being a designated facility underneath the commission, a third-party contracted facility, in which case we could do a direct deal with the landfill commission, but that's not in place at the moment.
Councillor Boniface had a question.
The unit that you're looking at putting in Innisfail, how much KBW does it generate a day? And is it straight to line, or are you going to run that power to facilities?
Yeah, so the project envisioned in Innisfail, 100,000 tons would produce about 13 megawatts of power. And vision that would be grid connected, although there is conversation about that potentially being, they are developing an industrial park and potentially looking at clustering. So there is a potential to cluster there.
Okay.
So I remember the questions that I asked when you gave the presentation at the Mayor and Reeve. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll ask it after Councillor Phillips in case we have the same question.
Just the question I have is, we do have an organics program, and I'm just wondering, is organics going to be beyond that 50% moisture threshold that you have? And so would you be able to use organics, or would it just need to be the household waste?
Yeah, I kind of bypassed a slide. Generally try to work in complement with recycling and composting and organics programs. So if those streams can wind up in recycling programs or composting or sort of other uses, they sort of never touch our facilities. If that does happen, it's not the worst case scenario for us. You generate quite a bit of landfill methane abatement offsets if there is organics components within your waste. So again, use the bottom up language, can kind of take whatever shows up as long as you're not sort of consistently over that 50% moisture content. But in general, what you see is those processes and streams find other uses, and we sort of take whatever's left that can't find other uses that would otherwise go to a landfill.
That's. Councillor Boniface has a follow. Oh, sorry. So one of my questions from the night that we did it was, why would we choose to do this at the same or competitive tipping fees? And I thought you had some great answers of, you know, saving the world and carbon capture and
it's doing the material part in decarbonizing Rocky Mountain House, I would say would absolutely be one of the answers. Right now, landfill waste that winds up at, like, municipal solid waste that winds up in a landfill rots into methane and has landfill leaching issues associated with it. We're really, really bullish on carbon capture and storage. So see this also as a real shot in the arm. If you can provide more sources of CO2 into the local and regional carbon capture projects, that sort of improves the economic model of those midstream assets as well. So I'm very biased on this, but we use the language of like AAA gold-plated environmental solution. You are eliminating the need for landfills long term. You're eliminating the need to decommission or deal with landfills long term. So the whole problem of landfills current and in the future goes away. You're getting all the energy back out of your waste, and you're sequestering all the carbon underground long term. Three major wins. The sort of stat I like to share on the energy side is coal itself is about 18 to 20 megajoules of energy per kilo. Waste, like garbage, is about 14 or 15. So we're throwing away what's about 75% of the energy value of coal onto a landfill consistently. So just think there's a lot of compelling environmental, economic, and energy outcomes from these projects.
Thank you.
Very much.
One of my other questions was your facilities in Europe, and that how long have they been in production for, and have you made advances in the technology? Because I think you had a couple examples that had been in production for a long time.
Yeah, Rory, do you actually may want to pull up that presentation we did today, even the timeline slide and the facilities? I can speak to this fairly quickly, but we'll maybe show a slide for 10 seconds. So the core technology has been in development. The main inventor is a gentleman named Helge Rosvald. He was one of the first people in the world to start doing gasification for solid fuels, so municipal waste, in the early 1990s. Got his first patent on this in 1997. That original patent is now in the public domain. Yeah, maybe go to the timeline slide 3 there. And then so originally through the main Norwegian university and some pilot facilities there, then into a company, Energos, that Helge founded, and then did a second generation of the technology that they delivered a patent on in 2017 that really dialed in the ability to take highly variable inputs on a day-to-day basis and optimize the steam production. So been sort of a 30-year plus development trajectory and history on the technology, and in a really good spot today as well. So has been in operation across 7 facilities in Europe, and the first one that was developed in early 2000s in Germany is into decommissioning. Maybe go to the next slide.
See this?
Where?
Yeah.
The one with the facilities. Yeah. Yeah, so first facility started up in 2001, and then now been built across. So these are just the Norwegian assets and the original German, and then there's 3 facilities in the UK as well.
And what is the life expectancy of the facility?
Yeah, built to 25-year life expectancy, and generally trying to structure your contracts where you could stretch it to 35.
Okay. And then lastly, my other question that I had was, what are you asking for from municipalities contract wise? Are you because you explained about garbage can come in various amounts, like we could have lots of garbage one week and no garbage the next week, and you figure that out with your process. What are you looking for contract wise from municipalities to be part of this project, like timeline wise and like volume wise? Yeah.
So at this moment, we're asking for letters of intent. So not sort of definitive commercial agreements, but just sort of indicative letters of intent. And again, around the language of a commitment that you're at a minimum of current tipping fees. In terms of timelines, again, we'd be from moment of getting enough waste together, then we need to close our financing. We're about 2.5 years from that moment in time until you'd have a commissioned facility. So it would be a window to say, okay, then in a 2026 window or 2025 window, we would then need your commitment to waste afterwards. Generally looking for 10-year commitments of waste. If we, so say we get to enough waste on a project and we get into definitive agreements, we would be looking for those on typically 10-year agreements. And from our side, we would be looking for as much waste as Rocky would make available to us. Would make logical sense to be the landfill diversion solution for the waste in the region. And so from our side, we would be looking to get as much, if not all, of Rocky's available waste, and targeting that on a 10-year agreement. And again, the starting point of conversation being current tipping fees.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you answering those questions, because I liked your presentation. That's why I thought it would be of interest to our council. We've done a lot of work before my term, but continuing on with recycling and pulling out organics out of landfill waste and things like that. So this would be sort of like a reasonable fit, you know, depending if how everything else works together, but that is just something out there that nice to have the information on.
Okay.
Did anyone else have any questions? We don't have any further questions. Mr. Kraus, did you have any questions? We didn't have any further questions. Did you want to have a last remark?
Yeah, maybe just sort of a last remark and sort of flag on our side. We would absolutely love to have Rocky's Waste as part of this project. Will make me proud of hometown participating in a project. So no specific time pressure on our side, just helps build momentum in this sort of regional play. So we'd be happy to sort of pass along this presentation as well as a draft of, again, non-binding letter of intent. But if this is something you think you would be interested in pursuing, just looking for that sort of marker we can put down to say, okay, we've got Innisfail, we've got Rocky, we're into Blackfalds in a couple of weeks. So just trying to sort of stitch together a regional play. So would love to have you guys participate and happy to come back or answer any more questions at any point as well.
Yep.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time today, both of you. And it's nice to see a hometown boy that's going out in the world and making us proud. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no, really appreciate it. I've got that pin on my backpack you gave me. So rocking out with pride.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Awesome. Take care.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
So moving forward in the agenda, we have another delegation this morning from our friends at the Compassionate Care Hospice Society. And we have Jessica Bosman and Mr. Steve Taylor. Welcome. And so the microphones, you just hit the middle button and the red light. Okay, perfect.
Oh, I've got to turn around. Why don't you have seen this before a couple of times? As long as it works. I'll come over here. Would that be a lot easier?
Oh my goodness. Just click again. Yep. Go on. So since it will be would it be okay if I just got this? Sure, I'm happy to do it. I just had it so. Oh, I see. You'll have to turn the mic.
Right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for having the Compassionate Care Hospice Society here today to speak to you about our hospice care operations bed expansion project. Let's get started. So the Compassionate Care Hospice Society 2016's mission is to provide hospice care within the community in a home or home-like setting to all individuals and their loved ones, fulfilled by fully trained professionals and volunteers with respect, dignity, empathy, and compassion to meet physical, spiritual, and emotional needs through the end of life and bereavement journey. Our core values include comfort, excellent quality care, commitment to providing palliative care, compassion, and striving for a high level of competency within our community. A little background of our society. We were established in September 2016 by some very dedicated local volunteers who saw a need for hospice space within our community. By October 2019, the compassionate volunteers had successfully opened up our SL4 hospice suite within the Good Samaritan Society Clearwater Center for our community. We accomplished this through our tribe partnership with Alberta Health Services, the Good Samaritan Society, and the Compassionate Care Hospice Society 2016. And through consistent volunteer fundraising, generous community donations, applied grants, and municipal funding. Since opening up to the public, we have proudly served 22 families within Rocky Mountain House and Clearwater County. Our suite comes fully furnished, fully stocked with medical supplies. It includes all nursing professional care, meals, utilities, internet, cable, landline, and parking. There's plenty of room for families to stay overnight with their loved ones. We do have a pull-out single bed in the master bedroom, as well as a pull-out queen in the living room. We also provide compassionate volunteers for bedside sitting and family respite. In fact, since January 2022, our compassionate volunteers have logged 513 bedside hours for our clients and families. And this obviously doesn't include hours towards fundraisers and programs as well. It is also noteworthy to mention that our hospice suite is at no cost to our hospice clients and their families. Now we'll just show a really quick testimonial from a previous client member's family.
Oh, is there a video?
Yeah.
We don't have a video. I can get it.
We will have 2 videos actually.
We can cover the next part where it's stick, can we?
Yeah.
Okay, this is the great thing about having little stops.
Should I just carry on?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, please.
Over the years, the Compassionate Care Hospice Society has encountered some barriers and challenges. One challenge being meeting the hospice care demand within our community. As you can see, since 2020, the demand for a hospice suite has grown every year. The dark purple represents the number of waitlisted palliative people wanting to get into hospice versus the light purple indicating the number of clients occupying the suite at the time. Even through COVID, we were pretty steady. And it is important to note that, for example, from January to August 2022, we've only had 4 clients use the suite. This occupancy number may seem low, but in fact, 1 out of those 4 clients occupied the suite for 4 months out of the 8 months, spanning from January to August. The other 3 clients' time was split up between the remaining 4 months. So far, there has been a total of 22 families who have utilized our suite. There has been a total of 13 individuals who were waitlisted for the hospice suite and either died waiting at home, in hospital, or transferred out of the community into Red Deer Hospice. These are just the individuals known and recorded through Rocky Home Care. And in fact, over the last 2 weeks, 4 more individuals were waitlisted as we are currently full in our hospice suite. That brings our recorded number up to 17. Another reason for elevated demand is that our hospice clients may outlive their prognosis, therefore length of stays may vary per person. Death doesn't have a timeline, so some clients may live longer than projected and others may die sooner. This adds pressure to suite availability. Also, disparity of available resources and supports between urban and rural communities creates difficulties achieving the same level of end-of-life care and bereavement supports. For example, our suite only having 1 bed to accommodate all of Clearwater County versus Red Deer Hospice, who has 16 beds. Other challenges our society faces are that of financial sustainability and suite occupancy. Our operational costs apply regardless if our suite is full or not. Costs can range from a minimum of $2,100 per month. This does not include our office admin costs or hospice wages, as well as it does not include general inflation of supplies or medical equipment. Our hospice society relies primarily on donations and grant income to provide our operations. This is not sustainable, given the expense it takes to operate as a whole. Effective November 1st, 2022, today, actually, our hospice suite rent will increase to $2,169 a month. It's important to note that the Compassionate Care Hospice Society has no say when it comes to increased costs, as these are determined by Alberta Health Services. Our society does receive a $600 subsidy each month towards our suite rent. However, the $2,169 is after the subsidy has already been applied. Our subsidy does not increase as HS room rates increase. With suite occupancy, our challenges are that of each client requires 3 months or less to live. There's also required criteria that needs to be met in order to be admitted into hospice care, and this is determined through Rocky Mountain House Home Care. It costs the Compassionate Care Hospice Society approximately $112,290 per year to continue ongoing hospice suite operations, admin costs, and part-time employee wages.
Now.
Not working.
Oh, perfect.
So if you click this one.
Oh. Wonderful. I'll just maybe finish my thought here. So 112,290 for core hospice operations does not include the cost of facilitating our special memorial events and programming that we do provide to our community throughout the year, such as NAV Care, our butterfly release, memorial rock painting, grief yoga, grief education. It doesn't include our road shows, our annual walk for hospices, workshops, and more. So with that, I'll go back to our testimonial.
She'll turn it a little louder.
Why this is important to me is she's started a community of working and I would want to transition out of the community to have excellent care for she. Within my community with my own or through my going to be with my own at that time. They were able to make easy transitions and have my aunt there, with my aunt was great, they swap in and out, and everyone got to speak to so very lucky. My own as she continued to pass on. It's also allowed my own mom to be with her, making power and it allowed me when I entered the summer to come and get to spend time directly with my own knowledge and super knowledge. Be kind and loving, and this is a way that I want them to sit and talk to her about things that she had given to us in our lives. And it allowed her to be comfortable. I know that she was ready for her time to be finished. And I don't even have the words to say how grateful I am for this experience with the hospice society, the care that was given by the Good Samaritan staff, the ability for my aunt and my dad was to be as someone who heard and all of my she was cared for with nothing but love in our community is something that I can't recognize or put into verbal words the feelings that it brings out from my Opa. He was so grateful to not have to have his wife leave the community that he was living in, because he couldn't have managed to get back and forth. It allowed for us to spend the time with him to be on.
Is it in PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I'll just sneak ahead to our slide here. Almost there. Okay, so our hospice suite expansion project. Hospice care operations, second suite bed expansion. So our goal is to better meet the growing demand of Rocky Mountain House and Clearwater County's local population for end-of-life care. Our plan is to expand to a second hospice suite within the Good Samaritan Society Clearwater Center. We plan to do this first by solidifying municipal funding to cover hospice operations, staff wages, and administrative costs. Then we would continue navigating the same model we used for our first hospice suite project and continue with our tri-partnership contracts between Alberta Health Services, the Good Samaritan Society, and the Compassionate Care Hospice Society. So here's an outline of our project partnerships. We have Clearwater County and the town of Rocky, who provides the municipal funding required for operations, staff wages, and administrative costs. Then the Compassionate Care Hospice Society would remit the fees and associated costs needed to operate the suites. We would also furnish the suite and provide volunteer respite services. We would also connect with families and provide grief and bereavement support. Alberta Health Services would subsidize the suites and provide supports for end-of-life care. Our Rocky Home Care would work alongside our physicians to handle all client assessments and admissions. Rocky Home Care would also remain our client's case manager and monitor our client's overall health status. The Good Samaritan Society would provide the location of our suites and provide hands-on 24-hour end-of-life nursing care, including medication delivery. It is important to note that the board of the Good Samaritan Society has already expressed interest in expanding hospice care and has requested information from Alberta Health Services about converting an SL3 room into an SL4 room for hospice care. Dale Bowler, who is an Alberta Health Services capacity coordinator, has already collected an AHS utilization questionnaire for hospice suite needs assessment. He was already quite impressed in regards to the Compassionate Care Hospice suite rooms utilization prior to the needs assessment taking place. Our society is currently awaiting his response in regards to the AHS questionnaire results. The Compassionate Care Hospice Society currently covers all core operating costs through fundraising, donations, and annual municipal funding of $40,000, which is split between the town and county evenly each year. With our proposed budget, it is our hope that our municipal funding could be increased to $170,000 per year to accommodate our society's continual operating costs for 2 hospice suites, our office administration costs, and employee wages. The Compassionate Care Hospice Society would then cover the cost to outfit the second suite, which would cost $50,000 minimum to do so, as well as continue to cover all monthly miscellaneous costs for both suites, such as restocking of inventory and supplies, care baskets, extra sanitization costs. We would also cover costs for ongoing community programs and events. We would manage these costs via continual fundraising, applied grants, and donation income. So why is hospice care important within our community? Because no one here gets out alive. We all experience death at some point within our lifetime. One day you or your loved ones will need end-of-life care. So how do you plan to provide it?
Scared you. Woke you up though, didn't it? Thank you very much. Now for the difficult questions.
Thank you very much. So your ask for council is that we are already providing a split amount with the County of Clearwater. And what's your further ask then?
Well, the ask is if well, basically the county said that's between you and the county is what the split will be.
Okay,
You know, we're not getting involved in the split because that's a choice between you and the county.
okay. So right now, the total amount that we're providing is 20,000. And you need a further, looks like 60,000 to make it possible to have 2 rooms. Is that correct? Because there's a savings because some of the things are.
We did $170,000 to run 2 rooms and our administration.
Councillor Phillips.
Sorry, just, so what I'm looking at is we would go from a $20,000 requisition up to a $65,000 requisition if the split was kept.
That's your choice.
Yeah. Okay, no, just for clarification. that's
Yeah,
all. Thank
okay.
you.
So I just wanted to say, well, we're all mulling over that number, that I really appreciated the tour that I got in between. I think it was like 2 days in between. I want to say customers isn't the right word, tenants. And I really appreciated you showing me the suite, and I encourage anybody who hasn't had the opportunity to, yeah, I was just really impressed with I know a close family spent some time there this summer. And I think the thing that they really liked about it was to be able to have all the kids there, like kids were there, the grandkids were there, they're inside, they're outside, there's a little patio to go in and out. They all ate supper together, which I don't think would happen in a hospital space. So with that being said, how has this affected bed space at the Rocky Mountain House Hospital?
I think that's one you should ask them, because I think of the last week where they closed how many beds down last week because of lack of staff.
Yeah, so this takes basically one bed for an entire year from,
Yes.
because generally speaking, these people would have to spend long-term care in the hospital. Is that what I mean, or go out of town for hospice care?
In order to get hospice care, they have to meet certain criteria. And that has to come from the doctors and the home care. And that, the one of the ones is 3 months. Now, that may seem like a long time to a lot of people, but of course, when people get to hospice, if they've been sitting in hospital for a couple of weeks and they put you to hospice, life definitely changes, because you can see the trees and you can look outside and you get meals and you get people coming to talk to you. So yes, well, do people live longer, live in hospice? Hey, if that happens, gives the end of life a lot more power. It's a lot happier for the family. And remember, hospice is not only for the people who are dying, it's for the families. And that's the biggest part of hospice. It's the pastful piecing of a loved one in an area that they can gather and get rid of all the family problems, I guess, because I think everybody knows with death sometimes brings family problems. So that's a time to help sort it all out. And that's the beauty of hospice.
Counselor Hutchinson?
So I know you're limited with funding from the government. It's basically the staff at the Good Sam. Has there been any new announcements, anything on the lines of government supplied program hospice care besides home care?
Don't get this wrong, but AHS has an awfully good job of putting out paper. The last one we have here is 2021 for the Alberta Palliative End of Life Care. And the previous one was 2014. And they'll come up with frameworks for the future. But as far as hands-on in Rocky Mountain House, quite frankly, as I said to the county, if we don't do this ourselves, we can wait 20 years until the whole problem solves when my generation dies.
I would also like to add that there was a palliative care grant made available in December of 2021 that we did apply for. However, the guidelines or the limitations regarding that couldn't be used for operation costs, couldn't be used for buildings, couldn't be used for any of that sort of thing. It was more so designated towards rural programming. And we find sometimes that's a little bit more quicker to come by in terms of palliative end of life care funding, but in terms of the operations part of the society and the costs associated with it, very rarely will you come across grants for that.
And the $600 that comes off the 2169, is that?
No, that's.
It came off before the,
Yes.
so it would have been 2769. That $600, is that from AHS or is
Yes.
that is, so
Yes.
all AHS will pay for hospice care is $600?
Yes.
What they do pay for, though, is to go from, does anybody here understand what an SL3 and SL4 is? Okay, it depends on the level of care in the room. So supportive living, 1, 2, 3, 4 is the one where you need 24-hour care. So to change the rooms at Good Sam from SL3s to SL4, Central Alberta AHS upgrade that room to an SL4, so they supply the funding for the extra nursing.
Okay.
Okay, so when it's not that they don't do anything, but you go around the province, a lot of hospices, we all do it differently, actually. Everywhere you go in the province is a different setup.
And then once the room is designated to SL4 hospice care, then that $600 monthly subsidy they supply for us to help with the suite rent.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so the difference between the level 3 and the level 4, so you need level 4, or you need level 4 for hospice care?
Yes,
Yes. And so level 3, AHS pays the difference between level 3 and level 4 monthly or
no,
yearly?
they just pay that, they pay that to Good Sam.
Okay. That-
So we have contracts with Good Sam and with AHS for the hospice room.
Okay,
The Hospice Society is a separate entity, separate non-for-profit organization than the Good Samaritan Society and Alberta Health Services. We're independent.
right. I'm just trying to figure out how much AHS puts into this program so that when we go and ask, have the right information. Yeah. So, did anyone else have any questions? Counselor Boniface?
Is anyone allowed into the hospice if they meet the criteria, or is it only if they are staying in Good Sam's?
Oh, no, I mean, it's the county, and if they're a client of Rocky Home Care, that's their admission ticket. They don't have to be in Good Sam or any other place. They can be at home or in the hospital.
And they could also be like they could be from like another senior's facility, correct? Because I
Correct.
think that's where my friend came from, was from another senior's facility, and then she was too sick to be able to stay there anymore.
If when we set the rules up for the hospice, if they had family in town, they were eligible.
Counselor Hutchinson?
So the palliative care, the in-home care, people or families are allowed what, up to $10,000 for in-home care. Can that funding be taken over for hospice at all? It has to be in-home?
That's stage 3 of that. The
Okay.
10,000, once they enter an AHS funded facility or supported facility, that $10,000 is no longer applicable. But if you stayed home, say in the seniors mansion and stuff, they could get the $10,000 there. Because under the palliative end of life fund of the framework now, everybody has the right to stay at home. They can choose the place where they want to pass.
No,
I just
absolutely.
don't understand then why, if you can get $10,000 to stay at home. So what can we do? Where can we go?
But you need, okay, according to here, but you have to find the staff, like you need an LPN to administer any drugs and things like that, right? Because healthcare aides and LPNs, there is no 24-hour care at the moment for palliative end-of-life care at home. What happens is, I think most people probably might disagree with this one, but people want to die at home, and then within the last couple of days, the whole process of dying at home overwhelms a lot of the families, and so they just have to give up. But if we that's where that 10,000 comes in. It's number one, it's getting it. I think there's only been one person, in around here in 4 years that's actually applied for it. It's a typical AHS rollout. It's not used, and when it is used, it's within the last week or so.
I also want to add to that there are lots of people who prefer to pass away at home, and there's a lot of people who don't prefer to pass away at home as well. So if they choose to stay at home and pass away, they are able as a family to apply for that grant, but us as a hospice society cannot apply for that.
But you can apply for it and hire the hospice to take care of the family at home. It just came out in the new regs. In the palliative end of life care regs, they just changed them and they added in hospice and contracted care to take care of people at home.
Counselor Phillips has a question or a comment.
So, thank you for what you do. I mean, it's amazing to have, end of life care and provide dignity and grace for those that, that pass on and allow those families to grieve with them. My question is, what is the time frame, or what kind of a time frame are you looking to potentially have a second suite?
I was talking to Dale Balka a week or so ago, and before he went on holiday, and he was kind of hoping next March, April. Provided it has to go through how many different levels of management. Remember, of course, it took us over 2 years to get our first room. So we have to jump on the bandwagon and get going and have things set up before we do one thing or another.
So you need to prove that you've got the funding available?
Nope,
Oh,
nope.
Okay.
We don't have to prove.
did you have any follow-up? I don't see any further questions or comments. I again wanted to say thank you so much for all your hard work. I look forward to Saturday night at your fundraiser, and thank you very much for coming today. I really appreciate all your time.
If anybody wants to look into, just do some work at home, look at all the different hospices around the province and see how they work differently and how they fundraise differently and how they're run differently. It would be beautiful in this province if we could have one set of rules for one person, say in Drayton Valley, or somebody comes up and said, we want to start a hospice. Well, here's your contract. Here's what you need. Here's what you get. Not at the moment. Everybody has to go through and start from the word go again. And that's the hardest part. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very
We turn
much.
this off now, so that's it.
Middle button again.
Little button.
Middle.
Oh, little button.
Yeah, thank you.
The winter's here, and I'm very happy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so moving forward in our agenda, we have one last delegation from Miss Katie Jones from the Community Center, Adventist Community Center. Welcome.
Good afternoon. You guys have all heard me before back in July. I've just come for another appeal. My name is Katie. I'm a member of the Seventh-day Adventist Community Center and Church. I appreciate you letting me speak to you again to address our problem of the landfill. We have followed the advice that you had given us back at the most recent council meeting in July. We have doubled the amount of signs that we put up. We have put up obstacles so that when you're donating, when you drive in, that you actually have to read the signs that say what we take and what we don't take. For now, the donations have slowed down, but we will be bombarded again come May, October. Will become a site for unwanted stuff that will wind up in our center again. Generally because the Eco Center is expensive, so they drop their stuff off to me. I can show you, and I bought just one book here today, the amount of stuff that comes out of our center, like hundreds of items per week that we give out to people. We also cut the unwanted clothes that we have into rags, attempting to make a collection fund, again, for the land fees, because we don't have it. Madam Mayor and council members, we serve a purpose in this community. Every Wednesday, we have people who need our assistance. So we provide them with what we can, and it's all for free. Maybe people are starting over again. Maybe we see a lot of immigrants from other countries that come to settle in our community. We see the unfortunate people that live impoverished use our center. We do fill a need. However, with the rising inflations, and I was talking to the gentleman at the food bank, I think it was last night or the night before on Global, you have a 73% increase in just your food bank in just this one province. That's a lot. You know from yourselves, the gas prices go up and down, the food. I mean, if you went shopping in the last month or so, you know, your 3 little bags just cost you $150 and you've got a case of water and 3 little bags. So all these, you know, all this is giving our town a really hard time. And we're trying to provide something that we can give them for free. Even right down to the unusable blankets that we give to the Roar Society or to the veterinarian clinics for the animals. In July, excuse me, in July council meeting, you had assigned a delegate to conduct an investigation of a fact-finding information about this. I sent him an email and received a list of cities that you were looking into. I draw your attention to the word cities. These cities are not towns like Rockies. I looked up the population of the cities that Rob looked up. Out of all he gave me, only 2, Stellar and Fort McLeod, meet not even close to what our population is. These cities are cities, they're not towns. When compared to us, these cities and populations and the locations may not even be an accurate reflection of an honest comparison of my current situation. Regarding my concerns, I sent an email to the gentleman, but never heard a response. I am sure that you're aware, because you come in and out of town, that there's over 7,000 people here in Rocky. There's not 100,000, there's not 17,000, there's not 35,000, there's 7. So in saying that, we don't believe that none of these, or just 2 of them, I should say, are a good comparison to make that comparison. It's like apples and oranges. When I went and I phoned, excuse me, these places and the places that I looked up, I couldn't find any community centers there that run totally nonprofit. I couldn't find any centers that run out of a church that do the same thing as we do. I know that Lacombe has what they call an ABC store. It's called the Adventist Bookstore. They do clothes like we do in Ontario, that we do here, but they charge, right? So they generate an income. They have the store that they can use their garbage. I mean, it's a big facility out there. It's not just a building. It's a university. Let me see. We have served the community here since 1963. So you can imagine the stuff that we have kept out of the landfill since 1963 by using or reusing garments and small household items before they end up in the landfill. Sorry. I'm here to ask you to reassess the Eco Center's fees. We do not receive the same amount of funding that other nonprofits do. They receive municipal money, federal money, provincial money. We can't even apply for grants because we are a church. I did take a suggestion, I think it was from Ms. Hutchings, that we request some help into the neighborhood itself. I ran an ad requesting 12 companies at $100 a month and got no response from that. I didn't know if you are aware, but we're not allowed to have, at the church, we're not allowed to have a black bin or a pickup because we are zoned commercial, right? So we don't get that. But on our bill, we get charged $16.98 to use the Eco Center, which is not something that we utilize at all. When I called the town and asked if I could get a black bin and a pickup in exchange for the recycling bin, because I showed that we didn't use it, I was told no. Therefore, that forces us to pay the $17 that we don't use. Our situation is unique. We are completely a nonprofit organization. We don't ask for money. Our staffs are all volunteers. Before the fees, our overhead was essential non-existing. We strongly hope that the council will reconsider our plea and allow us a chance to continue serving this town. As for the other organizations that we have, again, I phone these places and there is nobody that is just totally nonprofit. I know that if you say that you give us the fee for free, everybody else is going to line up. That's nonprofit. But Madam Mayor, they're not totally nonprofit like we are. They do draw a fee from some other place that makes them function. We do not. You see, again, I can show you, but you see the amount of hundreds of pounds that we save from going into the landfill. If you could either just let us go in there maybe once a week with a couple truckloads. I know, I'm not quite sure where I heard it from, but I know that you were keeping an eye on what happens at the center. Unless you physically went to the center or passed it every day, you would see the amount of stuff. Now, again, a little less lately, but stuff all the time. we try and go through and use as much as we can. We try and give away as much as we can. We try and use it some other way. We try to keep it and resell it at the garage sale so that we can have money to pay for the dumping fees. Again, I get where you're coming from. I know that there's a lot of complaints online and through the public that I see about your recycling and garbage program right now. If it works for Ontario, and there's millions of people in Ontario that get picked up every other week, their garbage, but they do the recycling every week, just so you know. That works. It works for me. It makes you recycle. It makes you think about what you're throwing in. So I'd like the same for you. I would like you people to think about what we do there and how we serve the community and how many people we see each week. And just either A, give us the Eco Center fee for free, or B, change some laws, I think was one of the ladies suggested last time, so that I can apply for grants, that I can get some funding to keep the Eco Center open. A lot of people that I've talked to, sorry, Madam Mayor, a lot of people I've spoken to will, as they call it, sharpen their pencils and give me a bin for a little less. But again, I'm back to the same situation. If I don't generate $25 a month, I can't pay for that.
Right.
So I really appreciate, that you listened to me and let me come again.
Okay.
And I'm really hoping that you'll change your mind on some of the things
Okay.
for me. Thank you. Sorry.
No, thank you so much. I think we understand your ask clearly. And we just, we have a lot more to go through in our agenda. Do we have any questions for Ms. Jones today?
No.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming before us again. I appreciate your time.
I appreciate yours as well. And I please, from the bottom of my heart, if you could rethink some things, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so moving on our agenda. The adoption of the previous minutes, 5.1, to adopt the regular council meeting minutes of October 19th, 2022. Do we have any additions or changes to those minutes? So I'll ask for a motion to adopt the regular council meeting minutes. Councillor Hutchinson.
I'll adopt the previous meeting minutes.
Thank you very much. I think we know where you're going with that. All in favor of that motion? And that's carried. So we need to 5.2 to adopt the organizational meeting minutes of October 19th, 2022. 5.2. Councillor Caprero.
I'll make a motion to adopt the organizational meeting minutes of October 19th, 2022.
Thank you very much. All in favor of that motion? And that's carried. So moving forward in the agenda, delegation business, delegation Varma Energy Incorporated from Mr. Sean Collins. Did we want to have any further discussion on that or just accept that for information today? Councillor Phillips.
I mean, I would like to get more information from them on what kind of tipping fees they're gonna have. Just to see what their tipping fees would be as opposed to the current tipping fees we have. Does it make sense to do something like that or not? I would just like to get a little more information. I'm not sure if they'll have that kind of information yet because they're still 2.5 years away, but I would just like to get more information on what they need and what the cost would be.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Alt.
I think part of his ask was that we provide him with what we're paying right now for the tipping fees and whatnot. I don't have a problem with sharing that information. And if they want to use it and get back to us when they're a little further into this process, I'd be okay with that.
Councillor Hutchinson.
My only concern is because we are going the green, with the green bins and recycling, hoping to reduce our garbage without having enough information right now, what would happen if we fall below a committed number? Because that's our target, is to keep decreasing that garbage. But certainly more information, I think, would be needed.
Yeah, that totally sounds reasonable. It makes sense to me. I just thought it would be a good project to bring because we've done such strides in our community to be, earth future minded. So if it's a good fit, it's a good fit. Did we want to accept for information, or do we need to make a motion for administration to? We need a motion for administration to look into this further and have a conversation with Sean Collins, so we can bring it back again. Yeah, okay, Councillor Boniface.
I would like to see us bring it forth to administration to bring back more information to us. I have known about this for quite a while, and I think it'd be an extremely good thing for our community. And I'd like to see us definitely look into it further.
Okay. So any further discussion on that motion, Councillor Phillips?
Yeah, I'm not prepared to go down the non-binding letter of intent road yet, but definitely more information. Hey, if we can keep our black bin garbage out of the landfill, that's a tremendous win. So I think, looking at it as a future endeavor is never a bad thing.
Yeah. Okay, so all in favor of Councillor Boniface's motion? I think I'll call that to a vote unless there's any further questions or comments. Seeing none, all in favor of that motion? And that's carried. Do we have enough information in the motion to, okay, thank you. Thought I better double check before, now that that's passed, that was a little bit slow on that ask, but. Okay, 6.2, Compassionate Care Hospice Society delegation. So I think administration is suggesting that we do a resolution to discuss this at budget time. Unless we have any specific comments we want to make beforehand. Councillor Phillips?
Yeah, I think taking this to budget is the appropriate step to do, because we are going from a potential, for $20,000 now up to a $65,000 ask. That's a $45,000 increase. That definitely needs to be discussed at budget for sure. Not that, this is a very, very well, it's a very good organization. They serve a very, very valuable need in this community, but it's definitely something that we need to talk about for budget.
Thank you, Councillor Hutchinson.
Just to correct you from what I understand, the total ask is 170, how we split it. So we're currently at 20, so it would be a 65, it would be a total of $85,000 increase.
No, I'm gonna correct you again. So they need a total of 60 and we split that with the county. So we pay 20 now and we would split the 60 in some way. So it would be between a higher ask of 0 to 60. So if the county came up with 60, we'd do 0. If we came 30, then we would do 30. So it would be like from $21 to 20 to 80. But so my question for Mr. Kraus is, have we had any conversations about what the county's going to do with that ask for their share?
Yeah, so your worship, I have spoke to Mr. Emmons and they're actually doing the same. They're just bringing it to budget discussion, so they haven't made a decision yet. But my understanding from the presentation is they're looking for a total of $170,000 from municipal funding. So that would be 85,000 split between us and the county.
My math was wrong. So thank you, Councillor.
So because right now their present budget is 112, right? And 20 of that we pay, and their new budget's going to be 170. So it's only $60,000 more.
Mayor, I have it up on a large screen. Total municipal funding request, 170,000.
Oh, I see.
Their total core operating is 112.
Okay.
Here on the side.
I did try to clarify that with them because I was like, that was one of my questions, but if we can discuss it at budget, that would be the appropriate, especially if you know what the county's, you know what I mean?
If you'd like to look further, it's page 13 of the presentation that's included in your, oh, there you go, in your agenda.
I was writing notes even on it when I was asking them the question, so that's perfect. Is there any more discussion on that then before? So I'm looking for a motion. I can make the motion that we bring this to budget talks. And just accept for information today. Does that sound fair? Okay, all in favor of that motion? And that's carried. So lastly, 6.3, the delegation for the community center. So I appreciate her, enthusiasm and passion, but I personally still feel at the same point that there's a cost to garbage, even when we burn it down to nothing. There's a tipping fee, right? As we've just seen in that presentation. And so I know that other communities like Sundre were, asking the community to be conscientious with what items they drop off, make sure that they're usable. And it's just a fact of life. Every community in Alberta pays some way for garbage, and we're just trying to do the best we can, our fiduciary duty to make it, feasible for everyone in our community. Councillor Auld.
Mr. Kraus, they're a nonprofit society, but can they still not charge when they, instead of giving everything away for free, can they not put a charge for $5 and stay as a nonprofit? Okay, I'm just not sure why they haven't gone down that road.
Councillor Boniface.
Yes, like the next to new does a charge when you purchase something there, and I'll be honest and say, depending on who you are,
What your need is.
what your need is, the price changes. If your need is great, it's given to you. I also think that since it's more people like possibly myself that would drop off at an organization like this, maybe a fee to drop off wouldn't be a bad idea. If I'm going to drop it into the landfill and it's going to cost me $3 there, and I'm thinking they may be able to use this bag of clothes and I pay them $3, maybe that's a possibility that they could look at.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that things cost money, and I mean, every charity in Canada is faced with costs, and that's just, I think, part of life. I mean, I don't think it's up to us to, they'll have to come up with other solutions like other charities are, however they manage to do that, selling items or fundraising or changing their model. But it's other nonprofits are doing that. They're not the only nonprofit in Rocky that's collecting items for for the needy. The Women's Shelter collects items all the time as well. So we're just going to make a motion. We need a motion to accept for information the delegation then. Does that sound fair? Councillor Boniface.
I will make a motion that we accept the Aventus Community Center delegation as information purposes.
Thank you very much. All in favor of that motion? And that's carried. So number 7, old business, seeing none. We'll go to new business, 8.1. The committee appointment, the Rocky Kamakawa Friendship Society alternate member. So when we talked about this at the organizational meeting, we didn't feel that we would need one, and then their meeting is during RMA. So I am unable to attend and we'll need an alternate. So Mr. Kraus was thinking that we should have a permanent alternate added to the, would it be the bylaw then? Or to the,
Just the committee list.
yeah, so we need a permanent, I know that Mr. Phillips has asked to, could go to that one, but we're asking to put it as a permanent addition to that meeting. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, and I can make this meeting. I can be the alternate as well, but also if someone else wants to be the alternate, I have no problem with that.
Councillor Hutchinson.
I'm not necessarily looking to be the alternate, but would I be able to attend with Councillor Phillips just to learn, see what it's about?
Yeah, I don't see why there's a problem with that. We just have to, I just, like I said, my response was that I'm unavailable, but I will find somebody else who could attend. It doesn't hurt to have 2 people go. So I think, Mr. Kraus, we're looking for a motion to add an alternate to that meeting.
Yeah, your worship, would be just a resolution appointing someone as the alternate.
Okay. And so should we just appoint Councillor Phillips for temporarily until our next organizational meeting, which is going to be in a month when the new elected person is on, or how should we do that?
Yeah, you can, your worship, you can appoint Councillor Phillips as the alternate or council can. Just for clarification, it won't be a full organizational meeting. It'd be just a discussion for committee membership.
Right, because we've all taken on the vacants, alternates and stuff. Counselor Hutchinson,
I'll make a motion to appoint Counselor Phillips as the alternate for the Rocky Kamakawa Friendship Society.
perfect. All in favor of that motion? And that's carried. Thank you very much. So 8.2, I think I'd like to make a quick recess before we start 8.2, and just say come back at 25-2. Just have a quick recess so Mr. Phillips can maybe stand for a moment. So welcome back to the November 1st of 2022 regular council meeting. And we have an RFD for September 2022 operating and capital financial statements. And I see we have Graham Simcoe. Well,
Yeah, good afternoon. So I've worked on preparing a financial report up until the end of September, which is the third quarter, and providing council with these budget actual reports. The financial reports is part of the town's internal control and monitoring processes. So I'll get started. So a couple of high level comments are, as I mentioned during the June report, revenues and expenses are quite a bit higher because facilities are operating after COVID. But to expand on that a little bit, the recreation and programming revenues seem to be at this point exceeding budget a little bit. So hopefully at the end of the year they'll be a little more than budget. In addition, utilities revenue is looking a little over budget because the Eco Center started charging fees in July. So most of my comments will be connected with the variance analysis report, which is now on the screen. So I'll start with revenues. So recreation, I can see it's a little bit over budget, and I've already hit on that a little bit. Utilities I hit on a little bit as well. So, the Eco Center having started charging fees in July. An interesting item is return on investments, which is investments in interest type items, and everybody knows interest rates have been going up quite high, and so the town's interest revenue is quite high as well compared to budget. On the recreation rental side, the significant item in recreation rentals is arena rentals. And so that's really a seasonal thing that's not really active during the summer. So it maybe looks a little bit low compared to budget at this time, but come year end, hopefully, and expecting it to be a lot closer to budget. And I can also highlight that within contribution sponsorships and miscellaneous, there's a few unexpected grants that were received as well. They're not hugely significant items, but they're kind of explaining why those areas are a little over budget. Moving on to the expenditures side. A few highlights. Looking at utilities, which looks under budget at this time. Probably a few reasons for that. Some staff vacancy and turnovers in that department. In addition to maybe a little less repairs and maintenance type work required. But I suppose that could flip really quickly if there's a major water break or some other break at some point. The social services side, kind of operating to budget, but there is some carry forward surplus funding from previous years that could be utilized by the end of the year, which might cause that to be a little higher versus budget come year end. On the recreation side, a few comments there are, the pool is operating a little bit high compared to budget, and that's, pool uses a lot of energy and natural gas heating fuel, so those prices are quite high right now, and so it's a little high on account of that. And in addition, there's some unexpected repair work that was required or needed there that is causing that. And that, although the arena is on budget right now, it could come in a little high compared to budget on the expense side, and that's just because of the seasonal activity of skating and I guess high electricity and heating costs of the building of an arena. So parks, not a hugely significant expense item, but it is a little bit under budget at this time, and it's kind of a seasonal activity. You'll remember during the June report, was a lot lower than that. It was at 34%. So it's so some of the expenses have been occurring over the summer. So those are my comments on the operating side. Are there any questions or anything that? So on the capital project side, so the capital of the 22 capital budget was made up of a lot of kind of smaller items and a couple of significant items. And so there's been progress on those significant items, which, include the wastewater treatment facility where design work is continuing. And then also the other significant items are mainly around road work and some road construction that happened over the summer. So that concludes my financial update up until the end of September.
Okay, great. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Simcoe at this time? Wow, excellent. So we need a motion to accept for information the September 22nd, third quarter operating financial statements. Is that correct? Someone like to make that motion? Sorry, Councillor Phillips.
Yeah, I'll make the motion that council accept the September 30th, 2022 operating capital statement and variance report for information.
Thank you very much. All in favor of that motion? And that's carried. So the next item on the agenda is the request for decision tax installment payment plan, or TIP, to accommodate the SEEP tax as part of the TIP program. That was a lot of acronyms at one time. Mr. Simcoe, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So this is a bylaw update, maybe another one to accommodate the Clean Energy Improvement Program. And there's been a number of requests from participants to include their SEEP tax as part of the TIP program in monthly installments. And the current bylaw really just specified property taxes, and the MGA kind of references that bylaws needed for installments. And so this is to, I guess, broaden the bylaw to accommodate Clean Energy Improvement tax as well as other forms of tax that could come into play in the future as part of the TIP program.
Councillor Phillips.
I mean, yeah, this makes sense. I mean, the SEEP program never really existed until now, and obviously it's a form of tax, so I think it should become part of the TIP program where people can pay it monthly, and I don't see any reason why this shouldn't go through.
Councillor Ault.
Yeah, I agree. It's tied to the taxes for the town or for the property in town. So I have no problem with that being added to the program.
Any other further discussion? Can we have a motion then to for the first reading, accept first reading?
I'll make the motion that council give first reading to bylaw 2022/13, being a bylaw to incorporate clean energy improvement tax and other common forms of tax into the tax installment payment plan program.
Thank you very much. All in favor of that motion? And that's carried. So I think administration would like to continue forward and have a second reading of that. Would someone like to make that motion? Councillor Auld.
I'll make the motion that council gives second reading to bylaw 2022/13, being a bylaw to incorporate clean energy improvement tax and other common forms of tax into the tax installment payment plan program.
Thank you very much. All in favor of that motion? And that's carried. So I think administration would prefer if we had a motion to have a third reading for today.
Yeah, your worship, we would. I mean, this bylaw is just to help citizens that are in the program where they can make monthly payments. So there's no impact to the general population. It's only to those people who decided to participate in the program.
So I'll make a motion that we all agree the right word, to have a third reading of this bylaw. Unanimous consent. Thank you so much. All in favor of that motion? And that's carried. Would someone like to make the next motion? Sorry, Councillor Phillips.
I'd like to make a motion to give third and final reading to bylaw 2022/13.
Thank you very much. All in favor of that motion? And that's carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Simcoe.
Thank you.
Thanks. So moving forward in the agenda, 8.4. So there's no information on that item. What it was is I attended the Sylvan Lake Mayor's prayer breakfast last week, and I was going to just do it with my own funding as a PR, and it was suggested from Mr. Kraus that it should come before council as part of our policy and with the other emails from everybody. And that if I attend things out of town, it should be compensated for. But I just wanted to say I'm fine with not using any taxpayer funded money to attend that event. It was attended by, excuse me, the mayor of Red Deer, the mayor of Sylvan Lake, and the entire council, the mayor of Eckville. Like, those are our community neighbors. And I could have received a free ticket, but I just paid for it myself from the, I can't think what they're called, but they hosted the event. So that's what we wanted to discuss today, so we could have a conversation about that, following up on the emails from last week. Did anybody, Councillor Phillips?
I mean, if there's out of town events, then, you know, we have council resolutions or council approval that any member of council attends them, then yes, I believe the remuneration should be included for that.
Okay, is there anybody else want to have any conversation about that? So did someone want to make except for information, or make a resolution that I would get reimbursed for the money for that, attending that event?
I just don't feel, because the request should have happened prior, before.
Correct.
And now that, everybody's clear on the policy and the way it happens. But I think too, you've already, said that you're fine with paying for it yourself, and on a go forward basis, definitely to have the policy followed, and then you get paid for it.
Yeah, so it's my understanding that things will constantly come up on short notice. Just, it's the nature of the beast. So I just wanted to bring it to council and have like an open, positive discussion about it, so that we're all on the same page. And because there may be a time in the future where I have to send an email to say, I'm going to such and such event for this reason, and seek approval by email, because the timing of a council meeting doesn't fit with the invitation or the event. So if that's good moving forward, then would someone like to make a motion to accept for information?
I'll make a motion to accept for information.
Perfect. Thank you very much. All in favor of that motion? And that's carried. So the other item that was added to our agenda is 8.5. Mr. Phillips will present it. We attended a really good meeting last week between Ochese First Nation, the County of Clearwater, the Town of Rocky Mountain House, members of Brazeau County, members of Drayton Valley, including the mayor, and a gentleman from Cape and another associate. And so Councillor Phillips.
Yes, so I attended that meeting along with yourself and Councillor Auld. And
Councillor Boniface.
sorry, Councillor Boniface, my mistake. How could I miss you? You're so petite. And basically the purpose of the meeting was to talk about the road that goes out to the Ochese First Nations. And the condition of that road for decades has been very, very, very poor condition. And what they're looking for is support letters that they can take to the province and to the federal government. The Clearwater County has put away their money for their portion of the road, and they need support to get the money from the province and the federal government. And I believe that, you know, in the spirit of collaboration and partnership, that I believe that a letter from the town of Rocky Mountain House in support of that project would help, help move that project forward.
Thank you very much. I agree as well. I think that road, that's a large community of people that that travel to Rocky Mountain House to do everyday life things, including shopping and medical needs and sports. And it's really important to show support for our First Nations to get that paved. So we need a resolution to ask administration to write a letter for us on behalf of council to support that. Is that correct? What we're looking for, Mr. Phillips or Councillor Phillips?
Yes, yes. If there's no more conversation or comments on that, then I would like to make a motion that the town of Rocky Mountain House write a letter of support in regards to the Ochese First Nations paving road project.
So just
And-
for clarification for administration,
For-
who are we writing the letter to?
I would like to write the letter to the Ochese First Nation, as well as our MLA, Jason Nixon, our premier and our federal transportation minister.
Our Minister of Parliament is Gerald Soroka. Do you want us to go?
Gerald Soroka,
Do you want us
yes.
to go to him?
That's correct, yes, as well.
Councillor Ald?
The only concern I have with that is if are we gonna do it in conjunction with the other parties, or are we just gonna send our own letter? Like, how are they even gonna know what we're talking about?
We would be sending our own letter.
Have they sent anything, you know,
The other,
the other groups that were at that meeting?
They have.
They have in the past, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just more for, I know, you know, we've been in, I can't speak for all of council, but you know, we've been in support of this project for a long time, or I have. And it's just something that, you know, a letter of support today will help along with this project. It's just something that, you know, we may have to write another letter of support 6 months from now, but just to get a letter of support out there showing that we are, you know, are concerned about our neighbors and we want to make sure that they have a safe paved road to travel on.
So to follow up on that, would it be pertinent to maybe reach out to Ochese First Nation and ask them who they would like us to, because really it wasn't clear what their ask was. Like we did give verbal support for the project, so we could write easily enough a letter to Ochese First Nation saying, yes, we are in support of you seeking further funding from other government agencies for this project. Do you want us to write a letter to each individual, or just how would you prefer that to go?
So your worship, it was a great meeting. It's not too often you have 5 communities come together on one issue. I think this letter, and I don't think that meeting is the beginning or the end of the process. I think there'll be future meetings, how to advance this project to get done. So I would suggest the letter go to Ochese. Thank them for organizing the meeting. And they have our support and continued support. And we look forward to the next steps in assisting to have this road paved. But we still CC, the MP, the MLA and so forth. So they're aware that this is, the town supports this and is going to continue to support it.
Okay, perfect. So that your resolution covers that. So is there any further discussion about that motion on the table? Seeing none, I'll call that to a vote. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. So that concludes 8.5. Moving forward, correspondence for action 9.1. There's a letter from the mayor of Sylvan Lake regarding the 2022 Bull Riders Canadian Finals that are going to be held in in Sylvan Lake. And she's asking for us to attend. Is that? Yes. I certainly would be willing to attend on behalf of the town of Rocky to maybe not to all 3 days, but to certain events. Was anybody else interested in attending a good old fashioned bullrama? Is there any discussion over me attending and having the ticket and travel time covered for that event? Because it doesn't say if they would. So I would like to request that I would be compensated for the ticket and be able to attend on behalf of the town of Rocky Mountain House.
Yeah, your worship, you're just looking for a resolution that the council authorized the mayor to attend the Bull Riders Canada finals.
Okay.
And then the policy would kick in for compensation.
Okay. So would someone like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion that the mayor attend the Sylvan Lake 2022 Bull Riders Canadian Finals.
Thank you very much. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of that motion? And that's carried. So the next item on the agenda is 9.2. I just got to pull that up. So this is the Alberta Japan Twin Municipalities Association. And this is from the president, longtime resident, Dr. Roy Carriotz-Mary. He has been quite involved with the Alberta Japan Twin Municipalities since 1984. I think we're coming up on the 40th. Is that the 40th anniversary? Is that correct? 2024, which is, yeah. And so Laura attended because we were all at FCM for the one that Tabor hosted. And so they're just asking for, well, they're asking a couple of things. They're asking for support to host it in Rocky Mountain House. And then they're also asking for assistance with administration to help, if I understand the letter correctly, to help organize and host the event. Does that sound like what the ask is? And so would we like to have some discussion on that? I know it's hard to discuss that because we haven't been to the AGM, which is next week yet, but maybe that they're looking for information before for at their AGM. Have we done this in the past? Like 2 years ago, they visited here, right?
2014 was the last time it was hosted here in Rocky Mountain House. The conference, like the regional conference and AGM, was hosted here in Rocky Mountain House, in 2014, and it was held at the Walking Eagle. That's where their conference was. It was a single day event.
Thank you for the information. That's helpful. And then we didn't support that. Like, did we assist with any of the, do you know any of the details on that event?
I was there in another capacity and I don't know the details as to the financial and administrative support behind that event. I don't know.
Could this be something that is supported through a community grant, like our large grant? Because it's sort of like a community event, right? Would it?
Your worship, I mean, it could be under the community grant program, but I think their real ask is just for administrative assistance, so almost co-hosting it, which administration is completely fine with. I mean, there's lots of time. There's almost 2 years.
Okay. And budget wise, would we have to discuss this at our upcoming budgets for the future, or would this be part of economic development funding for tourism?
Your worship, I think we just have to have more conversation with them to see what that funding would look like and how it would be. I mean, it's not a large conference by any means. But that would be a discussion in 2023 for the 2024 budget.
Okay. Councillor Phillips, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I'll be attending the meeting next Tuesday, and perhaps there may be more information coming out of that meeting that will shed some light on this as to what they're looking for and what that will entail. So I just don't know if we need to make a decision today or if this is something that we can wait until we get some more information next Tuesday.
Yeah, that sounds totally fair to me. So do you want to table it then, or just, sorry, except for information?
Your
Mr.
worship,
Kraus.
so a resolution could be that Councillor Phillips attends their AGM and brings back a report to council on hosting the 2024 conference.
Okay. So I can make that resolution. I'll make the resolution that Councillor Phillips and Councillor Hutchinson both attend that meeting next week while we're at the RMA and bring back a report for information so that we can discuss this further. All in favor of that motion? And that's carried. Thank you very much. So 9.3 is another item that was added to the agenda, and it's has to do with the proclamation of the Mountain Rose Center and Clearwater Regional FCSS and the town of Rocky Mountain House. Has everybody had a chance to look at that? It was handed out to us. Now this fits in with our proclamation policy. Is that correct? I don't see any problems with the proclamation as it stands. Does administration have any issues with the wording or anything like that? No. Councillor Hutchinson?
I was just gonna say, I totally agree with this. I think it fits in where it should and I support it.
Okay. Councillor Caprero, do you have any comments? We'll just go around the room quickly. Okay. Councillor Phillips?
No, I agree as well. This is a very, very good thing, I think.
Councillor Auld?
I agree with Councillor Hutchinson as well.
Councillor Boniface?
I also agree.
Okay, so I agree as well. I think this is great. I think domestic violence is definitely an issue that affects everyone. So we will need a motion to, I don't know what motion we're gonna need for this, actually. In the policy, we have to make a motion to accept the request for
Yep. Unless you want to read it all out, your worship, but that's the actual resolution is what they're requesting. If you don't want to read out the whereases, because it's quite lengthy.
Yeah, I
it
could read it out. Well, I'd have to read the whole thing.
Okay.
Right? You want me to read the whole thing? Or just therefore it be resolved? Okay. So I'll make the resolution. Therefore be it resolved that the Mountain Rose Center, Clearwater Regional FCSS, and the town of Rocky Mountain House proclaims November as Family Violence Prevention Month to honor domestic violence survivors and advocates. Further, that we stand united in our commitment to end all forms of domestic violence in Rocky Mountain House. Does that sound sufficient? Any further comments or? Okay, so I'll call that to a vote. All in favor of that motion? And that's carried. Thank you very much. And so this will be on our town website then? Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. So moving forward in the agenda, we go to correspondence for information. Do we know when, if they're having a Rocky, just on 10.1, do you know if they're having one in Rocky? Did it say in there? I just saw it when I read it, it just said they had one in Sundre. I'm sorry, not sundry, Rimby. So, because I kind of thought they were asking us to attend one, or are they just giving it for information? Okay. Okay. So just after that's clarified, is there any comments on any of the items listed for information today? Seeing none, Councillor Phillips,
I'll make a motion to accept items 10.1 through 10.7 as information.
thank you very much. Seeing no further discussion on that item, I'll call it to a vote. All in favor? And that's carried. So moving forward in the agenda, we are at 11.1, the mayor's report. So due to the timing, I have my report on Alberta Municipalities Convention that I attended in Calgary. If there's any questions or comments on that, I attended the Navigating Innovative Wastewater Infrastructure Upgrades and Housing for All panel discussions. I know that Councillor Phillips and Councillor Hutchinson presented theirs last time, but I've been just doing it on the 20th. That way I keep track of where I've submitted my information. So is there any questions or comments about any of my report? Seeing none, I'd like to ask for a motion to accept for information. Councillor Auld.
I'll make the motion to accept the mayor's report for information.
Thank you very much. All in favor of that motion? And that's carried. So moving forward in the agenda, we have Councillor Auld's report. Did you want to add or make any comments on your report? Councillor Caprero, did you want to add or make any comments on your report? Okay. Councillor Hutchinson, did you want to add or make any comments on your report?
I just wanted to go through my report as I think there's a lot of people that don't
Read.
read. So
Absolutely.
I attended the ASHA board meeting with Vanessa from the senior housing workshop, which was pretty eye-opening. A lot of stuff in the senior housing that I didn't know anything about. We all attended, or most of us attended, the Truth and Reconciliation event, which was very moving and emotional. The Rocky Learning Council, just a few highlights on that they are running an LPN course at the Confluence campus, and they have 11 learners in there right now that are from town and First Nations doing it, that are driving in on a regular basis to attend. They're also starting the Health Certificate Aid program in April. That will be at, I believe, the Confluence campus as well. The ICC meeting, we discussed draft between the airport agreement between town and county, and at Rocky Senior Housing, as of the end of October, we were up to only 11 vacancies, so things are picking up there, and there's been some projects being done that are choosing to be a little bit difficult. The outside building, they were doing some work and stuff, and it didn't get done before the cold weather came. So now we're kind of struggling with having to either patch or spend the extra money to do, put heaters and stuff up so that they can do the outside of the building. But it's an ongoing project. So if anybody wants any more information, you can reach out.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Councillor Hutchinson? Excellent. Councillor Phillips.
Pretty self-explanatory. I mean, one of the biggest thing of the month was the service level retreat, the meeting, which is probably one of the most important things council does next to the budget. And the Parkland Regional Library, I'm on the Parkland Regional Library executive, but this was a meeting with the managers of the libraries in the Parkland Regional Library system. So it's nice to see what concerns, what problems, what successes, what what kind of things they have with operations and just new things, just to see what, coming from the library managers as opposed to, the executive part of that committee. So it was just interesting to see and hear the workings of the libraries. And that's about it.
Thank you very much. Counselor Boniface, did you want to add anything? Do a verbal report? I see there's nothing on there today.
Sure, I attended the 2 council meetings and the service level review and all the same thing you folks did.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'd like to make a motion at this time to accept for information the reports from Counselor Auld, Counselor Capero, Counselor Hutchinson, Counselor Phillips, and Counselor Boniface's verbal report. All in favor of that motion? And that's carried. Thank you very much. So number 12, the action list. Mr. Kraus, did you want to have any comments about that?
Yeah, thank you, Worship. I think I can provide council bit of an update. So going on the first page, review of code of conduct bylaw, that is well underway and scheduled to go back to council on December 6th. The anti-Semitism definition for our anti-discrimination policy is scheduled to be at your next council meeting, so November 15th. The request to have automated traffic enforcement technology as a delegation is set. That's going to come to council at the committee of the whole meeting in February. That's as soon as the consultant can make it. Include the cost for the skateboard park that is in the draft budget, which is being presented to council in December. The off-leash dog park that is also going to be in council's budget. It's already in there, the draft, so that'll be for council's consideration then. Curtis Field light project update. Mr. Ament and I actually met with the football club and the school division last Thursday, I believe, and we went through the agreements, and I think we have consensus on the agreements, so let's move forward.
Can I ask a question on that?
Sure.
So on Saturday, they held the championship game there, which we won against Wetaskiwin. It was fantastic. There's lots of community members there that I don't think they even had kids in football. So it was really great that we saw that. And so the football time clock wasn't working. And I'm just wondering if when we're discussing the lights, if we could have a conversation, because it was brought to my attention that it hasn't worked for a number of years. And there's like, is it something that we could discuss with the school board at some point when we're talking about the lights?
Your worship, so that was actually part of the conversation.
Okay.
So the scoreboard is actually school owned, and so I believe they were going to look at their maintenance to see if they can get it running again.
Okay.
But
I had someone with kids in football say that, community donator, community members wanted to donate the money to fix that. And there was like some sort of a communication breakdown on that they would give the money to the school board or to whoever to get that fixed. And so I'm just wondering in your conversations, if there's like a way to make that happen, and include this sponsor person, or if that's too complex, like just,
we can definitely bring that up to school administration
okay,
on their maintenance side to see and let them aware and let them connect.
okay, that would be really great. I'm so glad that you're ahead of the game on that one. So that's awesome. That's a win.
The Tanis Gerke Memorial, I'm not too sure what that's at, Mr. Ament.
Still waiting to hear from them on the design of the plaque.
And then the dressing rooms at the arena, that's being studied right now by an architect. It's part of the whole feasibility study for town office and an expansion there, but that's included in that study. And that'll be coming to council as soon as it's done. I'm not too sure of the time frame. We're trying to have it ready for budget discussions. And the lagoon, that's ongoing. We're still doing testing at the septic center or receiving center. So that covers it, Your Worship.
Okay, did we have any questions for Mr. Kraus or comments? Seeing none, I'll make the motion to accept for information the action list for November 1st, 2022. All in favor of that motion? And that's carried. Thank you very much. Do we have any administrative inquiries today? Seeing none, I'll move forward. Do we have any notices of motion today? Seeing none, I'll move forward with that. So before we go into closed session, I'd like to call a brief 5 or 10-minute recess, and then we'll be going into closed session. Thank you very much.